On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the most down to earth revenge movie I have probably ever seen, Blue Ruin.
If you're looking for a man with no plans or programs, and he always leaves a chance to hold hands for romance, or you're looking for the Luke with an old man or cold hands, creature of the night heads for his spotlight, I'm here to welcome you to Brandon at Random Review, a method when I choose. It's Brandon at Random Reviews.
Alright, everyone, welcome to Brandon at Random Reviews, covering one unsystematically chosen subject at a time. If you like listening to a guy talk about arbitrarily chosen topics in weekly episodes, then look no further. To keep up with the newest content, you can find Brandon at Random Reviews on most major video and audio platforms, as well as all popular social media sites. If you enjoy this, please like and subscribe. I use content engagement as a secret ingredient in my homemade fruit punch. As I mentioned, today's movie is Blue Ruin. You may or may not have heard of it. It was released on April 25th, 2014, with a runtime of 91 minutes and a rating of R. Budget $420,000. Written and directed by Jeremy Saulnier. For the score, we have composers Brooke and Will Blair. For the cast, I'm just going to warn you, you probably haven't heard of any of these people, but Macon Blair plays Dwight, Devin Rattray plays Ben Gaffney, Amy Hargreaves plays Sam, and Kevin Kolak plays Teddy Cleland. I don't have any casting notes, but the plot synopsis is a man who has been living in his car for years is distraught with grief after his parents were murdered several years prior, becomes intent on enacting revenge on those responsible. For the tagline, Revenge Comes Home. And it makes sense. It's probably not the greatest, but I don't get the sense that this was the kind of movie that really did a lot of marketing, so that also makes more sense. Alright, guys, let's just dive right into this motherfucking plot. Okay, so this movie kicks off with a man inside his home taking a bath before going outside and heading to the beach. And there's a lot of stuff that I couldn't really piece together very well. I get the sense that this isn't really this guy's house and that he has just happened upon this house and knows for some reason that no one is home. The man's name is Dwight, and he appears to be a loner of some sort. He's actually homeless. He has a long beard and long hair, and it looks like he's going through some trash at a carnival and is going to eat some food that he finds in it. He's sleeping in his car later on, and a police officer approaches him and asks him to come with her. But she won't reveal exactly what's going on until a little bit after this, so she apologizes for the mystery and explains that he's not really in trouble or anything, but she just wanted him to be in a safe place when he heard this news that she has to share. So, this big secret that she has to share with him is actually that somebody is going to be let out, presumably from prison, is what you kind of ascertain from what she's saying. And at this point, I'm guessing the person being let out of prison killed at least two of Dwight's family members, something like 20 years prior to what we're seeing. The convict is named Wade Cleland Jr. We see Dwight go to a couple of places, and you're not getting any narration. He's not saying or, speaking or anything. And he's seemingly making preparations and buying a map of Virginia. He throws away a box of his belongings and goes to a pawn shop. He looks at guns, but seemingly just ends up buying stamps. It's not clear because, like I said, there's no exposition going on with basically anything. So it's like he just seemingly ends up buying stamps, but you don't know if it's that he decided he didn't need a gun or he decided he couldn't afford a gun. But it seems as though he can't afford a gun based on the fact that he's homeless. And then he ends up going to this roadhouse type place, and it looks like he steals a gun from a truck by smashing the driver's side window. And the next day, he's at a park and he's using a crowbar to try and break the lock off the gun, but he ends up just breaking the revolving cylinder by accident. He stops at the prison and waits for Wade Jr. to get out. He's legitimately pissing in a bottle to prevent having to take his eyes off of the outside of the facility. Like he is that intent watching. Dwight sees Wade Jr. being let out and being picked up by some people. I guess it's his family. And Dwight could not look more broken and somber than he has in these early scenes. And it's obvious that he wants to kill this ex con. So he follows the vehicle to this new location. This is the vehicle that has Wade Jr. in it. When he walks up, he tries this locked door. He sees a man pulling a beer keg inside. This location is a dive bar of some sort, and Dwight goes into the bathroom and readies himself with a knife in his hand in a bathroom stall. He listens to these men talking outside the stall in the bathroom, and he watches Wade Jr., who is looking in the mirror through a gap in the stall, and then Wade Jr. notices him watching from inside the stall, and Dwight immediately jumps out of the stall, and Dwight straight up stabs Wade Jr. in the neck. And after a struggle, he leaves Wade Jr. to die there on the bathroom floor. And I want to be clear, it was pretty obvious that Wade Jr. knew exactly who Dwight was when he saw him, and he didn't seem eager to see him. Friends of the victim discover him dead in the bathroom and they rush outside. And Dwight realizes that he dropped the keys to his Bonneville somewhere in the bar, somewhere in the bathroom. And he's forced to take the limo that's outside after slashing its tires and injuring his hand. So this was kind of pointed out. I didn't really notice this as I was watching the movie so much, but there's a lot of stuff that happens in this movie. When I said at the beginning that it was a very grounded revenge story, this is kind of what I meant. It's strange because in movies, it's so commonplace that there are all these tropes that are unrealistic and you don't think about it as they're happening. But in this movie, all of those things kind of go away. He slashes these tires, and in a normal movie, it's made to look like it's some simple, quick thing. And when he does it, it's pretty difficult, and he actually ends up hurting himself while he's doing it. And it's not this clean thing like you would think it would be based on what movies do, because most people don't ever slash tires, and so they don't know what that's like or what it looks like or what they should expect or anything like that. So the family comes out of the bar, realizes that Dwight is stealing their limo, and they're running after him. The tire actually goes flat in the limo, and Dwight realizes after he gets away that someone was actually in the back seat of the limo and is now pounding on the glass partition as he comes to a stop on the side of the road. And this man emerges from the back as Dwight gets out of the front. And the man asks Dwight if he hurt Wade. And we later find out that this is William Cleland. This is a brother of Wade Jr. Wade has a couple of sisters and a couple of brothers, just to be clear. Dwight says he did kill Wade Jr. and that Wade actually hurt his parents. And he says this to William as if William doesn't know the whole story and he's just clarifying, kind of defending himself and what he did. But William tells him that Wade Jr. didn't actually kill his parents, and then he just runs off down the road back to the bar where the limo was originally parked. Dwight is clearly perplexed by this suggestion from William that Wade Jr. might not have actually killed his parents. Because obviously, for the longest time, Dwight has been obsessing over the notion that this guy killed his parents, and it's just the way he has been thinking, and he has just been thinking about this moment forever. So Dwight shaves his face clean after this all happens and cuts his hair to kind of clean himself up a little bit. He goes to a truck stop and he sees a police cruiser there and hitches a ride with a truck driver. It cuts to a babysitter arriving at a house, and you have no idea what this house is or who lives here or anything. And this woman is hurriedly giving her instructions on things to this babysitter that she needs done. And as this woman is backing out of her driveway after talking to the babysitter and leaving, she sees Dwight in her rearview mirror, and he just says, "Hi, Sam," as she gets out of the car. Sam and Dwight go to this diner Dwight asks if Sam received the postcard that he sent her on the way to Deerfield, and she says no, she didn't get it, but postcards can take time to arrive, and it's probably not realistic that it would have gotten there in like a day. They discuss Wade Jr. getting out of prison and that the DOC sends a notification and a restraining order automatically. This is what Sam is telling Dwight is yeah, she knew about it immediately because of all of these processes they have in place. They discuss some of the assets from the estate of their parents. It's made pretty clear that Sam is Dwight's sister. She doesn't accept when he offers her the remainder of what he's owed from the estate, and she's pretty clearly not happy with Dwight, but it seems as much like she feels bad for him as it does that she seems angry with him. Sam talks to him about the fact that she now has two daughters, and Dwight reveals that he knew all about her daughters because he actually saw her with them at a boardwalk somewhere, and she gets upset that he didn't say something upon seeing them there, and he only says that he looked a mess at the time and didn't want to approach them and weird them out. He confesses to Sam that he actually killed Wade Jr., and she initially doesn't really believe him. Dwight says he thought Wade would more likely kill him first. It occurs to Dwight shortly after that Sam should check on her kids because Sam's Bonneville is in the Cleland's possession, and it's under Sam's address for the title of the vehicle. And then she calls, and the babysitter is just not picking up the phone, which causes her to panic. Two of them arrive to find her daughters and the sitter are fine, and they just weren't paying attention to the phone or something. Dwight advises that Sam should take the kids with her and move away because the car he had could be linked back to her at her address. And Sam, she's like parting ways, taking off, fleeing, whatever you want to say. She tells him that she would forgive him if he were crazy, but she tells him that he's not crazy, he's just weak. And then she takes off bitterly. It's pretty clear Dwight has been obsessing over this death of his parents since they passed away, and he's the only one who hasn't really managed to move on from all of it. Dwight stays at Sam's house where he just makes preparations. He's rummaging through old boxes of stuff as he waits, presumably for the Clelands to inevitably arrive at the house. He looks outside after nightfall and sees two people in his Bonneville seemingly watching the house down the street outside. He begins to ready himself in anticipation of what they might do. After doing a couple of things, he looks back out and the people are gone from the car, so he knows they're coming toward him. Dwight's eyes widen and he can hear the squeak of someone trying the doorknob outside. He looks out of the mail slot quietly on the front door and sees a man in a black beanie facing away and looking down at his phone. Dwight goes to find a flashlight and quickly hides with it on the ground as at least one person enters the house. Dwight escapes from the house and flees while they're looking for him inside, and the intruder spots him through the window and fires a crossbow at him. The intruder misses and comes outside, and Dwight manages to hit him with his car, and he gets out to ask if he was coming for him or for Sam at the house, but the man is either dead or just unconscious. While Dwight is outside and near his Bonneville, we hear the crossbow fire again, and he's hit in the leg with an arrow. Eventually, he stops after daybreak to put the unconscious body of the intruder in the trunk of his car with the arrow still in his leg. Dwight still has an arrow in his leg. He pins the arrow in the door of his car and he cuts the arrow off with a hacksaw, which cannot be anything but extremely painful, I imagine. Dwight goes to a store to buy supplies, and the cashier gives him a look of suspicion as the cash Dwight is paying with has blood on it, and Dwight is unable to piece together a good explanation on the spot, and it makes him look far worse. When he leaves the store, he goes back to his car and attempts to extract the tip of the arrow from his leg with a knife and is in immense pain and is bleeding a lot. He goes to the hospital and tells the woman at the desk that he had an accident with his leg, and then he promptly collapses on the floor. He wakes up in the hospital bed with a gown, and his wound on his leg has been sewn shut, and he manages to slip out of the hospital and finds his Bonneville where he left it, and he knocks on the trunk, and the man whose body he put in there begins yelling at him to let him out. Dwight just leaves the guy in there and hops in the driver's seat, goes to get gas as the man continues screaming from the trunk and pounding. Dwight declares that he won't let the man out until he has a gun. Sam has texted him that she is back and wants to know where Dwight went. Dwight stops at a house asking for a friend from school named Ben, and Ben's mother answers the door and says that Ben moved a while back and she didn't recognize Dwight after so many years. She gives him her son's information so Dwight can find Ben. He looks for him at a loud nightclub and has to wait for him to leave and stops Ben at his truck, which, by the way, would be a very unsettling thing for any person to have happen. He's just really lucky that he didn't have a big altercation with Ben before Ben realized who he was. And fun little tidbit, Devin Rattray plays Ben, and you might think, who the fuck is that, Brandon? Why are you telling me this? Devin Rattray is actually Buzz from Home Alone, so Kevin's older brother in that movie that tells him about Old Man Morley and all that stuff. That's who Devin Rattray is, and he's in this movie and he's pretty good in it. Like, he's actually a solid actor, honestly. Ben tells Dwight that he looks like a square and mentions that Dwight just left out of nowhere and they had put up missing person posters for him, which hadn't really occurred to Dwight, which tells you how much he was zeroed in on his parents dying and he was just hung up on it really bad. Dwight wants a favor from Ben, who has a collection of guns that he knows a lot about. Ben wants to know as little about why Dwight wants a gun as possible, and he offers him a semi automatic rifle. Ben admits that he almost called the cops on Dwight, and Dwight asks him not to, at least not yet. And eventually, Ben tells him that he doesn't want to just let him buy a gun from him and leave, and would prefer to train him to use the gun properly. But Dwight doesn't really want to go to the trouble of all that. He just wants to use the gun for what he wants to use it for. Dwight takes his Bonneville somewhere onto a remote location on Ben's property and opens the trunk that, by the way, in case you forgot, had the man inside. And Dwight pulls the rifle on the guy, again asking him if he came to the house going for his sister Sam or him. And the man says his leg is broken, so he'll be staying in the trunk. And the man unconvincingly says he was after Dwight and not after Sam. Dwight asks him if it would change anything if he surrendered himself to police, but the man in the trunk says that he can't let him get off that easily after what he did because Wade Jr. was his brother and his name is Teddy. Dwight asks him about the guy who was in the limo and why he said Wade Jr. didn't actually hurt anyone or at least didn't kill his parents. Teddy explains that Wade did kill some people, but he didn't actually kill Dwight's parents. Dwight basically just doesn't want to believe that what Teddy is saying is actually true. He doesn't really want to believe it, but he also kind of knows that there has to be some truth to it, but he just doesn't really know, and he's like so frustrated at this moment. Teddy actually elaborates and says that it was not him or his brother, but rather their father who killed Dwight's dad for getting involved with their father's wife, and that Dwight's mother was just collateral damage when Wade Sr. killed the dad. And essentially, it sounds like Wade Jr. took the fall for his dad because Wade Sr. had cancer, and obviously Wade Jr. had already done these other crimes, so it kind of made sense. And the Clelands didn't really want the dad to die in prison of this cancer, and so they basically just worked this idea out. Dwight tries to tell Teddy that the killing of his parents was not justified, and he wants Teddy to call his family to have them all meet and put an end to all of this back and forth vengeance, basically. When Teddy talks to his sister, she says that she wants to talk to Dwight. Dwight tries to get him to toss the phone on the ground, but Dwight foolishly lets Teddy hand him the phone while having him face away, which is just the dumbest idea ever. And it's another one of those things where it's like, yeah, if you're not like a career assassin like a John Wick or something, you might fall for some stupid ass idea like this. Naturally, Teddy just gets this gun from Dwight and gets Dwight on the ground. Teddy ends up punching Dwight multiple times in the face and holds him at gunpoint and reveals that his leg is probably not broken. Teddy reveals that Wade Sr. died a free man and makes it clear he is about to shoot and kill Dwight, when suddenly a stray bullet flies by Teddy and another shot is fired that kills Teddy instantly. The gunman is revealed to be Ben, who followed Dwight and waited for Teddy to threaten Dwight with the gun to make Ben's shot justifiable, at least legally in his eyes. Dwight confesses to Ben that he actually already killed Wade Jr., but the family will not let this end, and more Clelands will come after him and Sam. Ben has Dwight practice on targets. He advises him not to let the personal nature of his vendetta cause him to fail. He tells him not to give any speeches or anything and just focus on what he has to do. Dwight apologizes to Ben for getting him involved, but Ben says he's glad he's got involved because it saved Dwight from getting killed. It cuts to Dwight hitting the road, heading for the Cleland family home, since he knows that that's where he's got to be able to try and find them. Dwight actually sabotages Ben's truck to force Ben to stay out of the entire situation and not get more involved than he already is. Dwight stops and eats and then is shown vomiting on the side of the road after. He goes down a 2-track road in the woods and conceals his car with some branches before approaching the Cleland house. Dwight attempts to enter the house, but the door is locked and he finds what appears to be the limo from earlier under a tarp. He kicks in the back door and no one appears to be home as he searches the house and goes from room to room. He ends up letting his guard down while still looking around and enters the barn out back and finds a gun cabinet with automatic rifles inside. And it seems like one spot might be missing a weapon. And this is really strange because it's like another trope that they don't do in this movie. And it's already a pretty short movie, but they don't have it be that he gets to the house and there's immediately a confrontation conveniently that they already happen to be home and he's just coming to have his showdown. It's basically like he gets to this house and it's not what anybody would have expected. There's no Clelands in the house at all. And he's just kind of stuck like a sitting duck waiting at their house for a while for them to come back from wherever they might be. He searches the house a little bit, and the phone conversation plays when Teddy was talking to his sister right before Ben ended up killing him. Dwight is apparently just waiting at this house now for someone to return there, and he finds the grave of Wade Sr. and eventually urinates on his headstone. Dwight is sleeping behind a couch at night, and a light clicks on and wakes him up, but it doesn't seem like anyone is actually there, and he realizes that the light is just on one of those timers like I use for Christmas tree lights and stuff. He sits in front of a chair in the living room, and it seems like a real bad idea to just sit there with a light on for no reason. But I think his rationale is I don't want to turn this light off and alert everyone to the fact that I'm here by, showing that, like, oh, wait, the timer would have kicked on that light, basically. White begins looking at this family photo album and he eventually just falls asleep again while looking at it. He goes to his car and retrieves Teddy's body from the trunk and buries it. He hears the landline phone ringing inside the house and rushes in. He calls the house with his cell phone and leaves a somber message that we don't really hear all of. Eventually, after nightfall, a vehicle is seen approaching the house through the woods. Dwight calls the house again, and 3 people rush inside from the car, a guy and 2 girls, and they listen to the message as he waits for them out of sight. We hear Dwight's message as they crowd around listening. As they're distracted by his message on the answering machine, he turns and aims at them. His message asks that they leave his sister out of it, and he starts to lower the gun and they yell that they're heading to Pittsburgh to get Sam, and he aims at the man and shoots him twice, prompting the 2 women to turn around, not realizing who Dwight is at first. He begins telling the 2 women that he's been there a while trying to think of a reason not to kill them. As he talks, a shadowy figure approaches him from out of view, holding a weapon as he's distracted, and which is just what Ben warned him about. The figure is actually revealed to be William Cleland, who was the guy in the back of the limo, the other brother. William shoots him but doesn't want to finish him off and clearly wants to let it all end with all of their issues. Dwight tells William that he has more bullets than him, and William just walks away. Dwight reveals to the remaining Cleland sisters that William is their half brother, a product of Dwight's father's affair with their mother. So Dwight aims at the women and they pull a gun on him and they all start shooting. And as William walks away, he hears all the gunshots and it cuts to inside where Dwight and the two women are lying, dying or dead on the ground. Dwight repeatedly says the keys are in the car under his breath, as if telling that to William. Then it just cuts to these still shots from outside Sam's house where Dwight was confronted by the Clelands, showing crime scene tape and the arrow that was fired at him that is just in the grass. Sam's house is shown empty and it shows Dwight's original postcard just arriving, and it's unclear what happened to Sam or where she is. And then, of course, we roll credits. So, trivia for this movie: Ben Gaffney, portrayed by Devin Rattray, is based on a real high school friend of director Jeremy Saulnier. He contacted the real Ben while he was writing the script to get an accurate representation of Ben's moral views and gun collection. At one time, Benny mentions a deuce who got hit by a train. This is a reference to El Deuce, lead singer of punk hardcore band The Mentors, who claimed Courtney Love offered him $50,000 to kill Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain was the lead singer of Nirvana. He died in, I believe, 1994. The story is that it was from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but there is a lot of mystery surrounding his death. Courtney Love was his wife at the time that he died, and a lot of people have pointed the finger at her as possibly having had some kind of involvement in his death. And so when this guy claimed that he actually was offered money to kill Kurt Cobain by Courtney Love, he ended up dying under mysterious circumstances as well. So there's a lot of crazy shit with this whole story. But I do feel compelled to say this is all alleged. I'm not saying any of this definitely happened. I don't want to get sued or anything. I'm just conveying the story that I have heard. Strangely enough, another little tidbit is that Blue Ruin is a reference to the blue and ruined Pontiac Bonneville, the car/home of Dwight. Writer and director Jeremy Saulnier funded production on the film through a successful Kickstarter campaign, which MTV called a perfect example of what crowdfunding can accomplish. All right, so on to info and ratings. Opening weekend, $32,608. This was a limited release, independent film. Worldwide gross, $993,000. IMDb rating 7.1, Letterboxd rating 3.7, Rotten Tomato critics score 96%, Rotten Tomato audience score 79%, personal rating 4.6 out of 5 stars. Yeah, that's right. I'm getting into the less common decimals, not just 0.5s anymore. Praise for this movie. This movie is straightforward and right to the point. The tone is so grounded and realistic that it draws you into the story perfectly. For criticism, I really don't have much. It was pretty great. It was just a little slow and jarring in spots, and I don't know that I really should hold that against it because it really seemed to do what it set out to accomplish very well. It was just jarring for somebody who didn't know that that was what they were walking into when they were watching it. So it is what it is. All right, everyone. Thank you for stopping by. I do appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. Bye now.
I'm here to welcome you to Brandon at Random Review, a method when I choose. It's Brandon at Random Reviews. What you hoped you would see is half blind with hats tied, with all the dates of release for Footloose, The Dark Knight, a Kurt Russell brain freeze, Rear Windows and Gaslights. I'm Billy and your Meg, Sharon Stone, the leg spread. The park starts with the eggs, you won't stop till you're dead. I'm here to welcome you to Brandon at Random Reviews. No method when I choose. It's Brandon at Random Reviews.